This is Live for Love TV. Live for Love TV. Yes, I am.
One step more. One step more. One step more. Until you reach your goals. One step more. Save them soul. One step more. One step more. How good it is to reach the
Live for Love TV. This is Live for Love TV. Live for Love TV.
Okay, back here with Live for Love TV, the 13th day of the 7th month of the 21st year in the 21st century. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Now, today I've received an audio coming from, I think John Bananas was on either TalkSport or one of those radio programs. And because I did a video, Racism in Football, and mentioned John Bananas, I think people felt that I should hear his latest conversation on the radio with a European. And I mean, I've listened to it. I've listened to the entirety from start to finish. He certainly made the presentation, or the presenter, sorry, should I make it clear, is the very uncomfortable. But my problem again is what I said in Racism in Part 1 about football, that whenever they go to John Bananas, he widens it out. He literally takes the spotlight off football and puts it on the wider society. Now, that's not what's needed from John Bananas. He's not Martin Luther King, and he certainly doesn't have a good spectre on what's happening in the black community any more than anybody else does. He's never been someone to come out and speak about black rights around, you know, in general. He's not somebody who's a social commentator on the black rights in normal. So when he's come to on football issues, even if he has to speak about racism in a wider society, he should deal with what he's asked to do. And that would be more productive from my perspective. I don't find it productive when he starts going and talking about Winston Churchill and starts talking about other things that happened in the community and slavery and stuff like that. People are going to say, mate, it's a rant. If you listen to what he has, it's the most emotional I've ever heard him. I hope he hasn't watched one of my videos and got upset and felt that he had to go on the attack because I called him John Bananas, the go-to man. But the reality is that you don't go on the attack like that. This is not the way to deal with a subject. You need to stick. You've got a 4 or 5 minute or 2 or 3 minute interview. You can't bring up War and Peace in 2 or 3 minutes and think you're going to get anywhere. So yes, you made a presenter feel uncomfortable. Yeah, bully for you. I don't see where that's going to take us. I don't see what help that is to anybody. Some people are so frightened to speak out their piece when they go to their 9 to 5s and their everyday work, that when they hear anybody speak out and say something that they're frightened to say, they feel like the person has done well. Well, no, as I said before in Racism Part 1 in football, that this is not the way we need to deal with this particular subject when you deal with racism in football. We need to narrow down on the big issues in football, the directors, the controllers of the game, the UEFA, FIFA, BBC, the people who talk about sports on radio and TV. These are the people you need to home in on. And as for conversations with Europeans about Europeans' past, what did you expect to get? When a person starts denying, doesn't understand what you're saying, doesn't get it, feels that you're being too harsh. But I mean, what would anybody expect? You can't tell somebody about themselves in that way when they've been in denial all their life and expect them to understand your perspective, especially when they don't come from your place. So that, again, I don't see where the productiveness in that is. And I don't know, maybe some people will be happy with John Bananas' rant, but as I said, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's non-progressive to me. It doesn't go anywhere. I'd like him to narrow it down. I'm gonna say something that maybe people will understand why I'm saying this a bit more. The real reason I'm saying this was in the 60s and the 70s, 1970s in the UK, black people like Darcus Howe and many, Frank Critchlow and many other people pointed to and highlighted to the racism that was in the police force. And what were we told at that time? The black community was told that it's not a racist police force. It's just a few individuals, a few bad apples. This is what they said every time they were accused of being a racist organization. They did this constantly for decade after decade. And after the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, after he was murdered in the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, when it was clear that there were individual police operating and working with the people who were supposedly guilty of this thing and covering this thing up as best they could. When they should have been put on a thing, what did they do? They came with a report that says, well, it's not the individual, it's institutionalized. It's the whole thing. What we've been saying for 30 years. So even when you think you've got them and you can pick out the 6 or 7 police officers that need to go on trial for what they did, they then widen it out so nobody ends up going on trial. And this is why people like John Bananas is so dangerous, because John Bananas is widening it out so that nobody can be put on trial, that nobody can be pointing the finger to, that nobody can actually be held to account by him talking about it's the wider society and the wider society is racist and it's been racist since the 16th century. When people come to you on a football issue, that's what you need to stick to. You need to home in, you need to focus on and get all lights facing on that particular issue and point out the points that you can see and you know, not just the monkey chances I said in the first video, but also the power positions in football. This is what you need to home in. And that was what the presenter seemed to be trying to do. Be saying, why are we still at this problem? Why are we still here? And instead of him saying, well, the managers, the FIFA, the UEFA, these bigger organizations in football need to be turned over, literally need to have a revolution inside them or outside of them. And let him point that out to the presenter. He wants to talk about the wider society and somehow he ends up on Winston Churchill. I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised he didn't end up at Rudyard Kipling when he came out with the white man's burden. I'm surprised he didn't go there. So as far as I'm concerned, those kind of conversations to me are pointless. And for those people who feel, emboldened because a black person stood up to a white person and said some few things that sounded like, oh, he felt uncomfortable. That's a very sad position to be in as a black person. If that's your level of progress, that you can actually make someone a bit hot under the collar with a few conversations, nothing's going to change. And you haven't pointed to anybody. You haven't pointed to anything. And as I said to you already, to try and change the wider society, when you've got an issue in football and talk about the wider society, it's really, really a bad state of affairs. So to me, John Bananas, nil to you and nil to the other side. It's 0-0 now, as far as I'm concerned. You haven't brought up any points that are of any use to anybody. And if you want to go on the circuit, not just about football, if you want to go on the circuit about the black condition in the UK, the history of it, that's what you should do. You can go Speaker's Corner. You can come out into the community. You can come out and make points. You can write your articles and your blogs and whatever and do that. Let's see where you are. Let's see exactly what you're talking about. Somebody's called you about a football issue and you're pretending as if you're, Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or one of the historians of the past. That doesn't make it with me. So that's my conversation today, this morning, about John Bananas, his recent interview. And for my brothers and sisters that pointed it out to me, thank you for the information, but I don't see where that goes. So see you later. Take care.
Beat